No one saw this coming. Not the fans, not the blogs, not even the people closest to her. What began as quiet online murmurs about Remy Ma's alleged FBI investigation has now exploded into chaos, and at the center of it all is one man who has had enough. Papoose, the husband who once stood as a symbol of unshakable loyalty, walked out of a studio session, phone in hand, face pale, after hearing the audio everyone's been whispering about. Sources say the room went silent the moment a voice played through the speakers. A calm, confident, unmistakable voice. Remy's. Talking about Claressa Shields in a way that no one could have imagined. It was the kind of audio that freezes the air around you. The kind that makes you question everything you believed was real. Within hours, paparazzi cameras caught Papoose pacing outside their penthouse, phone pressed against his forehead, refusing to speak, refusing to even look at the flashing lights. Inside, insiders claim he demanded answers, not from the internet, not from her team, but from Remy herself. And just like that, the power couple that once defined loyalty in hip-hop began to unravel, not because of the streets, not because of fame, but because of a leak that seems designed to destroy them from the inside out. Now, fans are calling it the day the Bronx broke. Social media is on fire. Some say the audio is fake. Others believe it is real, and that someone close to Remy is orchestrating a takedown from within. But here is where it gets darker. If that voice really belongs to Remy, if those words were really hers, then this is not just gossip anymore. This is war. Because when the man who defended her through prison, humiliation, and fame finally starts to lose trust, it means something deep, something sacred, has shattered. Let us not forget. When Remy went to prison, Papoose waited. He turned down fame, money, and temptation, all for her. When she came home, he rebuilt her career, brick by brick, bar by bar. Together, they became hip-hop's most loyal duo, the kind of love story fans used to call bulletproof. But the truth? Nothing is bulletproof when betrayal enters the picture. This time, it was not the industry testing them. It was not fame. It was the internet. It was the FBI. And most of all, it was a voice note that no one can ignore. Because if the leak is real, it is not just Remy's reputation at stake, it is her legacy. And in the world of hip-hop, legacy is everything. It all began with that leak. A calm, deliberate woman's voice, steady, dangerous, Bronx-heavy, talking about Claressa Shields like she was not a rival, but a problem that needed to be handled. Nobody could say for sure it was Remy. But everyone recognized the tone. The confidence. The control. The way the air itself seemed to tighten when she spoke. At first, Papoose brushed it off. That ain't her, he told a close friend. Leaked DMs later showed him laughing about it. People play too much online, he said. But that was before the FBI whispers. Because when the Fed's name slides into the conversation, even love gets quiet. Insiders say Papoose had already heard the clip before the internet did. A producer, someone he trusted, played it in the studio, thinking he already knew. You need to hear this, the man said, sliding a phone across the table. Papoose pressed play, expecting nonsense. But then it happened. The room went still. His expression froze. It was not just the words, it was the rhythm, the pauses, the breath between the sentences. And according to that same insider, he whispered one line that changed everything, "That's my wife's voice, man." From that moment, something cracked behind closed doors. Remy stayed composed online, posting calm captions about faith through chaos. But the storm had already formed. Claressa Shields' camp filed an official complaint, citing security concerns after the audio dropped. Then came TMZ. Possible federal review, the headline read. For a woman who had already survived a felony conviction, even a rumor of FBI involvement was a nightmare. She needed her husband. But he was not answering. One insider swears Papoose spent that night alone in their Bronx home studio, looping the recording over and over, zooming into background noise, desperate to find proof it was fake. He wanted to believe she was framed. He needed to believe it. But even if the audio was fabricated, the fallout was real. The next morning, cameras caught him outside their building. Not the loud kind of angry, the quiet kind. The dangerous kind. When a reporter shouted, "Are the rumors true?" he stopped, looked up, and said only one thing, "You'll hear from her." That clip went viral in minutes. Comments flooded the internet. Papoose don't look like a man defending his wife. He looks like a man who just found out too much. Meanwhile, Claressa Shields was thriving in the silence. She began posting cryptic lines like, "God don't like ugly, and the truth punches back." Every post, every tweet, Remy's name trended again. And every trend dragged Papoose with it. It was no longer about the alleged FBI probe. It was about trust. It was about whether the man who once waited years for her behind bars was finally walking away. And then, the internet caught fire again. A new leak, anonymous, of course. claimed Papoose had found text messages between Remy and a media consultant. The messages allegedly discussed getting ahead of the Claressa story. According to the source, Papoose stared at the screen and said quietly, "I stood by her when nobody did, but not this time." No one could confirm the messages. But online, truth stopped mattering. Because in the gossip world, perception is power. And the perception was clear: Remy's empire was cracking. Her PR team scrambled. Statements about AI deepfakes. Accusations of hate campaigns. But every explanation only made her look guiltier. Because the internet was not reacting to paperwork, it was reacting to Papoose's silence. And silence, in a marriage built on loyalty, feels louder than any confession. Then came the moment that broke the timeline. A grainy clip surfaced, Papoose leaving a recording session, friends calling after him. He muttered under his breath, "I ain't arguing with ghosts." That single line became a movement. Within hours, hashtag I ain't arguing with ghosts flooded TikTok, YouTube Shorts, and Twitter threads. Fans turned it into remixes, breakdowns, conspiracy edits. Every frame of his face was analyzed. Every pause dissected. And through it all, Remy smiled for the cameras, dressed in white, pretending the storm did not exist. But even her most loyal fans saw it: she was not glowing anymore. She was guarding. Every laugh felt forced, every glance rehearsed. The woman who once said, "I'm too real for the fake world," was now trapped inside the fakest scandal imaginable. Claressa finally spoke. Calm, cold, unbothered. "I don't want beef," she said, "but when you hear your name in something that's serious, you take it seriously. That's it." And when a reporter asked if she believed the audio was real, Claressa's smile said everything. "I believe what I heard." That line? It detonated across the internet. Because it was not just shade, it was a power move. She turned Remy's alleged threat into a declaration of dominance. And somewhere, behind the scenes, insiders claim Papoose finally sat down with Remy. No cameras. No leaks. No spin. Just two people, and the silence that comes when love meets betrayal. No cameras. No tweets. Just two people, sitting in a quiet room, staring at the wreckage of a love story turned headline. Witnesses said voices were raised, doors slammed, and tears fell. No violence. No chaos. Just heartbreak. The kind that breaks you in slow motion. He looked like a man watching the foundation of his loyalty crumble, brick by brick, lie by lie. And according to one insider, the worst part was not the argument, it was what came after. Because Papoose never defended her again. No tweets. No statements. No posts. Not even a shadow of support. For a man who built his entire image on loyalty, that silence was deafening. Fans began writing think pieces, the end of hip-hop's black love royalty. Blogs speculated about divorce. Some said he was protecting her legally. Others whispered that he was already gone emotionally. But everyone agreed on one thing: something sacred had shattered. And while Remy kept insisting the clip was fake, people were no longer convinced the audio was the problem. The real issue was the betrayal that came after. Because even if the leak was AI generated, even if it was all smoke and mirrors, one truth could not be faked: Remy Ma's world was no longer in her control. The silence after that confrontation was louder than any diss track she had ever recorded. For a woman who built her name on fighting back, on responding to everything, her lips stayed sealed. No cryptic tweets. No interviews. No explanations. Just silence. And that silence was driving Papoose insane. People close to the couple said he was no longer angry, just disappointed. The kind of disappointment that does not yell. It just walks out of the room and never comes back. He stopped showing up to her sessions. Stopped replying to her team. Insiders claimed he even moved out of their penthouse for a few days, to clear his head. But in the entertainment world, disappearing only fuels the fire. And then came the real explosion. A second leaked clip. This time, it was worse. Because the voice, again sounding eerily like Remy's, mentioned him. "Pap's out of this. He's not built for it." The internet went nuclear. Within minutes, hashtag stay out of this Pap was trending on every platform. TikTok edits, YouTube Shorts, memes, all dissecting every second of their marriage. Fans started digging up old interviews where Remy praised him for holding it down. Now those same fans were commenting. So she was lying this whole time? Built for what, Remy? And that last question hit harder than any bar ever could. Because according to a close friend, Papoose listened to that second clip in his car, shook his head, and whispered, "Built for what, Remy? Built for you." That same night, he packed a bag and left. No press. No goodbye. Just gone. By morning, the blogs were already on fire. Papoose walks out. Remy Ma marriage in crisis. Some claimed he was staying with family in Brooklyn. Others swore he flew to Atlanta on business. But one thing was undeniable: the man who defended her through every storm had finally gone quiet. And that silence? It was the sound of the crown falling. Meanwhile, the FBI angle refused to die. Leaked reports obtained by media takeout claimed investigators had requested access to encrypted messages tied to Remy's management company. No charges. Just interest. But that was enough for headlines to explode with words like federal scrutiny. Her lawyer tried to calm it down. She is not the target of any investigation. But fans noticed the phrasing. Not the target did not mean not involved. And then, just as things were cooling, Claressa Shields returned. She posted a photo, gloves on, sweat dripping, shadow boxing, with the caption, "They tried to play dirty. I fight clean." The timing was savage. Everyone knew what she meant. And then came the moment that shattered the illusion of unity forever. Papoose himself liked the post. Only for a few minutes. But screenshots? They last forever. Behind the scenes, Remy's PR team was melting down. They begged her to speak, to take control of the story. But she refused. "If I talk, they'll twist it. If I stay quiet, they'll make it up. Either way, I lose." The words of a woman trapped between damage and survival. Meanwhile, the internet was playing detective. Voice spectrograms. Frequency analysis. YouTubers uploading proof videos with red arrows and grainy screenshots. One viral clip claimed the hum in the background of the leaked audio matched the same studio Remy used in late July. Another claimed the reverb pattern was fake, AI generated. The truth was drowning in theories. And just when people thought it could not get any worse, Fat Joe, Remy's mentor, her brother in music, went live. "Remy's my sister," he said. "I don't believe that nonsense, but if it's real, we'll pray for her." That last part, "if it's real," broke the internet again. Because when Fat Joe questions it, people listen. Claressa, on the other hand, was just getting started. She went on a podcast and dropped one of the coldest lines of the year: "When you play with power, you better make sure it doesn't hit back harder." No names. No tags. But everyone knew. And when the host asked, "Would you forgive her if it's true?" Claressa smiled and said, "Forgiveness is for people who admit what they did." Boom. Another viral moment. And with every silence, every like, every missing post, Remy Ma's world looked less like strategy, and more like guilt. Insiders whispered that Papoose was stepping back from the spotlight, protecting their daughter from the noise. Others said he was working with lawyers, not against her, but for her, to trace whoever fabricated the audio, if it was fake at all. But the fans? They did not care about ifs. They cared about betrayal. And just when the world thought it could not spiral deeper, it did. A leaked email surfaced, allegedly from someone inside the FBI. It claimed there was a second, unreleased recording. One that was authentic. One that discussed sponsorship manipulation before a major boxing event. Suddenly, this was no longer about gossip. It was about money, influence, and federal interest. This was not a scandal anymore. This was a storm, and Remy Ma was standing right at its center. It started with silence. But not the peaceful kind, the kind that hums before everything falls apart. While the world obsessed over leaks, lies, and loyalty, something darker began unfolding in the background. People started noticing strange coincidences. A joint promo campaign featuring both Remy and Claressa vanished overnight from YouTube. A sponsor's logo disappeared from Remy's posts. And then, a journalist from Rolling Out tweeted, "Certain brands are protecting themselves early. Expect official statements soon." It was subtle, but the message was clear. The walls were closing in. Meanwhile, every move Papoose made became part of the investigation. Every lyric he posted. Every story he shared. Every quote was dissected like evidence. Then he posted one line that broke the internet: "You can love somebody and still walk away." Millions of views. Thousands of comments. "Say it ain't over, Pap," one fan begged. But the man who once preached loyalty stayed silent. And then came the alleged call. A radio host claimed Papoose had phoned in privately and said, "If you knew what I know, you'd stop asking questions." He did. Not confirm it was about Remy. But he did not deny it either. Even Claressa seemed caught off guard. Her tone softened in her next interview. "I don't want to see her fall," she said. "I just want the truth. I'm a fighter, but this ain't my fight anymore." And just like that, Claressa Shields, the woman who unknowingly ignited a media war, exited gracefully, leaving Remy alone in the spotlight. By week's end, fans were begging for answers. Was the marriage over? Was the investigation real? Was the audio fake? No one had answers. Until an anonymous Reddit post appeared, allegedly from someone in Remy's old management team. It read, "She's not scared of losing money. She's scared of losing him. Because no matter how powerful you are, no matter how famous or feared, when the one person who always believed in you stops believing, the empire falls quiet." That was the setup. Then came the revelation that shattered everything, a third and final recording. But this one was different. It did not leak through trolls. It did not come from gossip blogs. It came from inside the circle. Multiple outlets confirmed that the file had been sent anonymously, simultaneously, with a chilling message attached: "Play this, and you'll know who really started it." The clip was only 47 seconds long. But it burned the internet to ashes. Two voices could be heard. One, calm, professional, sounded like a PR rep. The other, allegedly, belonged to someone on Remy Ma's own team. And the words? "Once Pap hears it, she'll fold." That sentence flipped the entire story on its head. Because it suggested the one thing no one had dared to say aloud: Remy Ma might have been framed using the one person she trusted most, her husband. The theory exploded. Social media became an open courtroom. Every Reddit thread, every TikTok breakdown, every YouTube analysis tried to connect the dots: the anonymous emails, the conveniently timed leaks, the mysterious account that always posted the clips first. Some believed it was an inside job, a jealous team member turned traitor. Others believed it was bigger, a coordinated takedown funded by a rival label. Whatever it was, this was no longer about music or boxing. It was personal warfare. Through it all, Papoose disappeared. Not physically, emotionally. No interviews. No appearances. No smiles. Just the occasional cryptic story: loyalty tested. Loyalty proven. Fans flooded his comments. "Pap, if she's innocent, fight for her." "Maybe fighting for her is what broke him," another replied. And behind the scenes, insiders whispered that Papoose was quietly working with investigators, not to accuse Remy, but to find out who played him. "He wants to know who used him as bait," one friend claimed. Because if someone weaponized that clip to destroy his marriage, he was not going to rest until he found them. Remy, meanwhile, was unraveling behind the curtain. She cancelled appearances. Paused her music. Cut off half her team. She doesn't know who to trust, one source admitted. She thinks everyone's recording her now. The irony was brutal. The woman accused of being caught on tape, now paranoid about tapes everywhere. Then came the moment that made headlines around the world. At a charity event in New York, a reporter shouted from across the crowd, "Remy, are you and Pap still together?" She smiled, that kind of smile that hides 1,000 cracks, and said softly, "Real ones don't need to prove real love." It sounded rehearsed. Almost too calm. The same calm that started all of this. Fans were split, half calling it grace, half calling it guilt. Meanwhile, Claressa Shields vanished completely. No comments. No interviews. No posts. Her PR team issued a single statement: "Claressa is focused on her next championship fight." That was it. And yet, her silence sounded victorious. Late one night, Vibe magazine dropped the bombshell headline: "The Bronx Betrayal, Who Framed Remy Ma?" The article claimed a whistleblower had come forward, someone who confessed to splicing voice notes together to imitate Remy's tone. The source said they were paid to do it, by a promoter linked to a failed sports branding deal.